Hello, and welcome to Last Attempt, a World of Warcraft Guildcast. I'm your host, Squirrelthug, and with us again is Shakatan.
Yo,
And once again, returning is Templar Ivanhoe.
What up, Yins?
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
So, we are going to do a quick little roundtable like we usually do. What have you been up to this week in World of Warcraft? Shakatan, let's start with you.
leveling up, man. Doing the pre-patch.
You got early
And
access.
early access. Yeah, not pre-patch, early access. And then
Nice.
I'm level 90 now, so I'm working on prey missions, doing world quests.
That's going to be fun to hear about. I know we're going to cover that in later on in this episode.
Yeah, and I'm doing lots of fishing as well
Oh,
for that auction house good.
oh, if you're doing it for the money.
I
Okay,
mean,
okay.
I'm also crafting myself, or I'm getting my cooking skill up as well. It's like around 80 or so.
You've been leveling all
But I
your
got a fish
professions?
to finish. Yeah, not that much on the leather crafting and the skinning yet, because that's quite a grind to get all the goodies for that, the leather. But I'm getting there. I think I'll probably finish cooking and fishing first, to be quite honest.
All right. And Templar, what have you been up to this week?
Same thing. Got early access. As everyone started, I was the first one to hit 90 in the guild, about 15, 16
Nice.
hours.
Dang.
And I'm still a little bit sleepy, but I'm still plugging away now on both my main, getting the blacksmithing and jewel crafting up, and starting on my first alt, who has both leatherworking and engineering, both to get her level up, as well as to level up her professions. If you don't know, I try to have all the professions maxed as much as I can, and just starting that grind now.
All of them? So across all your alts?
Yep. The only thing I don't really focus on is just the gathering professions, but I am, or at least was, an auction house goblin, and want to get back into that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that always sounded like a lot of fun to just play the market,
Oh, it is. But I will say the one thing is setting it up. Every expansion can be quite a bit of work, because then you have to add each individual item. Then with the way professions work now, of course, since Dragonflight, you have ranks for the items, and so you have to factor that into the equation. So it can be a
Is there an
little.
add-on that helps with that?
Yeah, Trait Skill Master does allow you to differentiate between the item levels and such, or not take them into an account at all. But there's always some sort of manual setup you have to do to get things the way you want, versus, like, let's say you import a configuration from someone else. But that's just part of the fun, is figuring out what sells, what doesn't, and managing your stock and inventory.
Dang. That does sound like a lot of fun. We're going to have an episode on auction house goblining.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting.
Help people make some money.
Yeah, definitely.
So in this last week, I have actually, surprisingly, even with early access, not played much WoW. I have been very busy with work, so I haven't had a lot of time, and I've been pretty tired. So I've only gotten to level 81, but so far, I mean, it's amazing. I played basically what I've already played so far in the beta, so I so far don't have any surprises, but I'm getting up to the part where I made it up in the beta. So Yeah, I never really went to any of the other zones. I'm really excited to go to Zolomon.
Yeah, so far, the one thing that I'm very surprised at, and I don't think this is really spoilers so much as it's something to look forward to, is just the amount of in-game cinematics and the amount of voice acting work they've done. Um, Basically, every beat along the uh, main quest line has just multiple cinematics, and just everybody has basically a voice, and it's actually, you know, really shows the amount of work they've been putting into it.
Wow, that's really good to hear. I mean, I haven't gotten to that zone yet, so it's really exciting. I was already excited because uh, Blizzard has been releasing a lot of animations and stories and a lot of lore, and typically they do that with their expansions. But there's been quite a lot for this one, and we are going to cover a list of what they've brought in. So we do want to have put out a reminder that our guild is still recruiting. Midnight launches probably today when you guys are listening to this. This is going to come out tomorrow. As of the recording, Midnight launches tomorrow for everybody. And we're looking for every role. Uh, Tank, healer, DPS. If you play more than one spec, that's always great. You can apply for the guild in our Discord. We have a link to the Discord in the description. And as a reminder, we raid Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, hope to see you there. All right, that leads us into our episode today. We are doing a perspective look on Midnight, the 11th expansion for World of Warcraft. It is the 12th version of the game. It launches March 2nd, and Season 1 starts March 17th. The second chapter of World Soul Saga started with the War Within. We are now in Midnight, and it will culminate with the Last Titan. This was first teased at BlizzCon in 2023, and we had a full reveal at Gamescom in 2025, August 19th. The pre-patch launched January 20th, so we had a lot of activities for that. Some transmog, housing decor, and a title. Definitely not a cultist. Love that one. And actually, we have a quote from GameSpot called it arguably the most transformative expansion since Cataclysm. And Ian Hazzikostas was quoted as saying, Midnight really has the potential to be our best expansion ever. My high watermark is probably Legion. I think this one can top it. So, after The War Within being so well received, can Midnight actually live up to the best expansion ever, or is that setting expectations too high?
I think already playing through it, it's already yes, I think they're absolutely right. The personally, all the storylines have really pulled me in. It was really awesome to. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but you know, they talked about going to back into old world areas, right? And content, and doing that more often, and you'll be seeing that in the main campaign storyline in Midnight, which is pretty awesome. I'd like to see a lot more of that. And
Not
I
just
think
Eversong Woods, as like you mean?
right, no, it takes you out of Eversong Woods and not going into out of Zolomon, out of Eversong, out of, like
Oh,
into the Eastern
like
Kingdoms
classic.
areas. Yep.
Okay.
And I think that's really cool of them to do that. And I think eventually over time they will be, even updating, some of those areas to bring them up to just the quality, up to snuff with with the polygon counts and details and texture details of the current retail level. But
Yeah,
man, storyline's great.
I was just gonna say the storyline has been honestly really engaging. Um, it's really nice to see, especially as a main paladin the whole time he's played WoW. Just seeing uh, Erator as well as Terralion uh, finally, being in the story and really doing something. We did see just a very tiny speck of that with Legion in the Paladin campaign, but both of them more or less were just kind of uh, little parts of your story. You as a paladin, and we did have Terralion act as the temporary king for Anduin. But that was kind of it for him for the longest time, honestly. I guess it's been what, BFA, Shadowlands, Dragonflight, The War Within. So 4 expansions where he's just kind of sat there doing nothing. So that's been really nice. The questing has been fun. The crafting, as little as we sort of gotten into it, has been fun. And like I said, with regards to the in-game cinematics, it really seems like they're putting in the effort to get to that goal of either being just as good as Legion, if not better. And like Shaq said, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, this game has been. I think the development team has really gone above and beyond so far, but I haven't seen very much of it yet. Um, so I'm really excited to get where you guys are because you've already hit 80 or 90. So you've seen every zone then, correct? The both of you?
Yep.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. Great. So with that perspective that you guys have, when GameSpot calls it the most transformative expansion since Cataclysm, is that like an exciting thing, or is it possibly something to worry about? Because Cataclysm was really contentious with a lot of players.
Right. It was kind of poorly received. Um, I don't know if that was just to do with the world revamps. I mean, I personally don't think world revamps are a bad thing. I like to see the evolution of the world, right? I think
Mhm.
that's like an important thing in the grand, to make it feel like it's a living, breathing world, right? It's not static. Things change. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I think having a recursive approach to new content seems like a really good idea. Not ever going back to Northrend again, for example, does sound crazy. It's a zone that everybody loved, and Wrath of the Lich King, for the longest time, ever since its release, has been, most people's favorite expansion. Is very hard to top that for a lot of people for a number of reasons. And being able to go back there and relive, some of the magic of being there. Because if we played that expansion for a really long time, World of Warcraft didn't move so quickly through its expansions before, and I spent a long time in Northrend. So to be able to go back and to see all of that again, I think is really exciting and sort of puts World of Warcraft on a different trajectory than I think that they had before. And along with the new paradigm of coming back and redoing zones, um, it's also the changes they made to the classes, the changes they made with add-ons, and the continued changes they make to the game. And so now it's very definitely a different game than Classic is. But Classic is still available for anybody to play. So I think that even if somebody did think that it wasn't great, they seem to always be offering some version of the old game for people to play.
Right. And also the great thing about phasing, right? Their phasing technology is that you can still experience all those zones, going through firsthand, as they were, and then get to see them updated later on. So a new player coming into the game can still experience that stuff at that level, and then
Yeah,
later
with
on
Chromie
get to
time.
see it. Yeah, yep. Um, which is really important. But yeah, as far as transformative, yeah, I mean it's all of that stuff plus the add-ons, right? The whole removing of the add-ons, creating their own versions of those add-ons. So it's just part of the experience which is really important, especially as they kick this off with animations and whatever they're going to do to, get people outside of WoW excited or wanting to play the game. Right? They need to make that user experience as welcoming as possible.
Yeah, I can only see everything that they've done as a good thing. I mean, saying it's the most transformative since Cataclysm, I would say, it's even more transformative than Cataclysm just because of how much they're, just everything from, like you said, the talents, the world, the rating environment without the add-ons and weak cores. I just see nothing but positives going from here.
Yeah, I think the first time they tried this was with Cataclysm, right? Going back to old zones, revamping them, bringing them up to a modern version of World of Warcraft, and it wasn't received very well. But we did get some new zones with it. It wasn't just um, revamping some old stuff because a lot of that was just a re-envisioning or reimagination of the 1 through 60 experience, and then on top of that they also added a number of zones for us to quest through and level up in the Cataclysm content, and that was a pretty huge undertaking. But a lot of people were really upset about losing certain versions of WoW at that time, and I think that they haven't really tried that since then. And I'm really glad that they're going back and trying that again because I think it's going to um, we're going to get a much better game for it as opposed to them just going out and making up some brand new place every time. And a lot of them aren't made up, right? Like this last expansion was a bunch of things from like deep in the lore that everybody's known about for a long time. Um, but it's cool that we now know that when we see something like Koresh for the first time, it's not the last time.
Yeah, just
Right.
as long as a Vashir was the only time we had to level through it
Still don't like the
because
underwater zone.
yeah, well, World of Warcraft doesn't really do very well with the Z-axis,
Yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
it
they did sort of fix it, right? I mean, the approach that they had was that you could basically fly underwater.
right.
You can walk and it was a little
Seahorses.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um yeah, that was definitely. I mean, it was just a different map, but yeah, it was almost like you can only use the drive system here, right? You can only use the seahorse here.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I mean, I had my turtle. I would pull that out every now and then. Turtle was nice.
Definitely.
Um, so the next thing we want to cover is the systems and progression changes. Level cap is going from 80 to 90. We get 10 new talent points, um, 3 class talent points, 3 hero points, and 4 for your spec tree. So altogether,
Yep, and the extra Apex talents at the very, very bottom now.
yes. Yeah, we have Apex Talents, and this is the second iteration of Apex Talents. First time we got this was in the beginning of this trilogy, and these are basically here to stay. We also have the class pruning. A bunch of abilities were removed, and a lot of specs were actually feeling, I think, really low powered up until very recently. They did a pass over and buffed a lot of classes, brought them up to where they wanted, and they've also released a schedule announcing when they're going to do several more passes. One is going to be after Heroic is released, and another is going to be right after Mythic Raid is released, which is also in Mythic Plus. And so we can expect a couple more class tuning passes over everything in the coming weeks. So if there's something that your class is maybe feeling a little underpowered, or you notice it's feeling overpowered, you're probably definitely going to get adjusted in some way. Um, the pre-patch also brought stats and like eye level squish, complete transmog overhaul, which has been pretty fun, I think. And we now have built-in damage meters, native boss alerts, cooldown manager. Skywriting has been simplified. I guess we could say that that came with the midnight sort of pre-patch, but they did simplify some of that. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
He is having that take 3 charges, or really does, you get up, if you need to go from here to another quest giver real quick, and just kind of moseying on your way. And it's stuff like that, little things that I think really sort of holds together the larger changes. It's just a lot of attention to detail that they've been really focusing on.
So for the add-ons that they have introduced into the game, outside of like they have like given us a lot of quality of life changes, like with the dragon riding and such. Some of these add-ons feel like maybe they should have been in the game the whole time. Cooldown manager, for example, and the damage meter.
Yeah, damage meter definitely. Uh, that's been nice to see. I will say that unfortunately I can't really use it, and with the preface being that as a tank, what I was always using is that tiny threat through details. The idea being that as soon as I would get into combat, whatever is my current target, it would switch to threat meters. Currently, that's actually broken with details. They haven't updated it yet, and I don't know if they are going to. But if they don't, that's okay. I'll just use the normal Blizzard damage meters. But yeah, having that built into the game, native boss alerts, that's a huge one. And even implementing their own version of the Uyghurs timeline for DBM and bigwigs. Very cool. Very, I think, uh, long past needed. So I'm just excited to see how much more they really put into it. Cooldown managers getting a lot of love. So, the future looks bright.
Yeah, I
So
think.
bad I gotta wear shades.
All right, so in Midnight, we are getting 4 new zones and Silver Moon. We got a completely revamped, rebuilt from the ground up zone, all the way from that coast, all the way up until um, the borders. I don't know if anybody has ever really tried to fly over there, but it used to just, I believe it dismounted you, or
Yeah.
you were sent to a loading screen and like you teleported to the ground or something. But there was some clever little trick that they would use to just keep people out of there because Silver Moon and Eversong Woods and Ghostlands was the Burning Crusade content. And when they upgraded everything in Cataclysm, that didn't get touched because it was separate content. Silver Moon is actually somewhere off of Draenor, off of Outlands. Like it's in the same zone. So Silver Moon, like the zone exists just really far out. So that, like you can't actually see one or the other, and it's got its own skybox. But as a zone prior to these changes, it just existed alongside the Burning Crusade content. So it was separate. So there was no real way for them to integrate it into um, Azeroth without completely rebuilding it, and that wasn't in the scope of what they were doing. So personally, I'm really glad that we got a fully revamped Silver Moon, and we also got Zolomon, which was a raid, and now we have the entire zone behind that, a new zone called the Void Storm, and of course Eversong Woods. So, which one of these? Because you guys played through all of them. Which one was your favorite?
I'll let Temp go first.
um, I would say probably just Eversong Woods. It's just a lot of fun being such a bright and uh, how do I put it? It's sort of a being in the city and suburbs type of atmosphere, going from Silver Moon City out into the smaller villages. I enjoyed the story a lot there, and it's just very, very pretty, and it was just very, very enjoyable.
And I would say, man, I probably like the Zul'Aman area. I really enjoyed the um the questing, the storyline there. It's a bit of a oh gosh, I'm gonna blank on this word. It's a kind of redemption story.
Okay.
And we haven't had some good troll lore in a while, so it was nice. It was refreshing. And I just like the area in general. It's kind of constantly raining there, for the most part. Plus, we haven't even gotten to the other isle, right? That's to
Oh,
the
yeah. There's a snake
east.
statue.
Yeah, you see a bridge that goes across there, but
The
so
broken
far,
bridge.
as far as this, yeah, there's no way to get across there yet, and I'm sure that's going to be coming in later content. It seems like it's all built already, ready to go. But they're gonna unlock that area when it's due,
I
when it's
believe
time.
Wowhead has data mined some sort of tournament stuff there.
Oh, okay. Some
Well,
tournament
that
stuff. Is that like a pit?
I I don't know. It seems to be doing something to gain the favor of that snake god that you see the statue of, and then
Aloha.
you get a
Okay,
buff.
gotcha. I'm all for like when you go into the Herondar place. I know this is kind of spoil, but there's a delve plus an area that is it takes you back to the oh the goblins aren't running it, but the goblins like their arenas and their fight zones, right? And you get to see a different form of that in Herondar.
So the goblins showed up.
You know what? I haven't seen the goblins actually.
Oh,
I haven't seen too many goblins. They're around apparently. Who is it? Glasgow, who's like basically the leader of the goblins now.
mhm.
Somebody talked about him earlier in guild chat. So I'm sure he's around somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was Ragus was saying that he was apparently showing off for the kids. But yeah, I haven't seen him around either yet.
Okay. So for Silvermoon, it's gotten the complete revamp. Um, this
Huge.
is separated into a sanctuary and a horde city. It's actually, you can see it pretty clearly on the map. The horde section of the city has kind of red tinted streets, and the roofs are all red on that side of the city, and the rest of it is more spread out. It isn't as dense. So visually, it's pretty easy to see if you're Alliance, which side of the city you should not be on, because the guards will stop you. Do you think the city should have been full horde, or does the sanctuary split work?
I think it makes sense. I'm been Alliance my whole time that I've played, and for me, it makes sense story wise. It makes sense like player wise, and at least for me, it really doesn't you know matter too much. Um, I can understand other Alliance players maybe not liking it, or even the idea of Alliance and Horde working together, even, how many expansions we've had some sort of peace treaty in the storyline. Maybe they're
After the Fourth War, right?
yeah, right. Um, uh, but yeah, I think it's this is the center of all hell breaking loose, and need to come together and help each other out. And it's also interesting because uh, there's during the storyline there's a lot of, or there's at least five or so sort of um, one or two quests where you have to sort of quell the fighting between the Army of the Light and the Blood Elves themselves, the ones who live in Silvermoon. So that sort of puts into perspective how much tensions there still are. So I think it's done pretty darn well.
Right. And I don't know how the starter zone works. That's like northwest of the city, because it's there now, like in the main city. And I'm sure, just for practicality reasons, they also want to keep that kind of area separated for any new players that were going to be starting, as blood elves and whatnot. But yeah, the blood elves are very protective of the Sunwell. They're very wary, of what's going on there, because they've seen, obviously, what happened during the Burning Crusade. So you can't really blame them.
And I think Lorthamar even mentions, and this is all stuff that happens basically right at the start of the story, but he's mentioning that, the what we see the Sunwell doing in this chapter, he's never seen happen or heard of it happening, and it's, they've been around. I believe some of these elves were around when the Sunwell was created, right? Because they have like that,
I wouldn't doubt it.
they're all like they don't die unless they're killed. I think biological immortality is kind of something they
Yeah,
have
and
because of the Sunwell.
one thing that they mention is that the time since, I think, during the Second War. I know, Shaq, you've done the Eretor quest line, so I won't, really say much about that. But they do mention that the end of the Second War was about 30 years ago. So, um, even just that span of time, and seeing the cinematics, for example, with Eretor and is it, his aunt who is Illyria's sister. I'm blanking on her name.
Varisa?
Oh,
No,
Varese.
there.
that's
I
Valeria.
think
Does
it's
it start
Varese.
with the Valeria or
Valeria. Where
I could be wrong.
there's a lot of
I
yeah
get them
there's
mixed up. Yeah.
yeah but anyway, during the anime cinematics, you see her take Eretor and try to hide, and Sylvanas, getting turned by the Lich King. And so there is that span of time that we're sort of finally seeing. It's sort of like how they, after so many years, they finally announced like how much time passed since Wrath and Cataclysm. I think they said it was like 5 years. And it was sort of caught me off guard when they actually said that, there was 30 years in the past and everything. So it's definitely a culmination of these things. And yeah, the Blood Elves, like Shaq said, definitely have a right and a purpose to their how wary they are.
I mean, personally, I just think Silvermoon is beautiful.
It
I've
is.
the story
Hmm.
is really cool to see how it's all kind of playing out, but it's just everywhere I go in that city is it's gorgeous, and it looks so close to what I remember, just bigger, right? Like Murder Row is basically the same. I remember that structure, but it's just because they got to rebuild it from the ground up. It's much bigger. It's like much closer to the true vision of what I think cities should look like. and I would love to see the rest of the cities in the game updated.
They've
Yeah.
talked about it. They're yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
There's where they're talking about being able to revamp Stormwind and Orgrimmar as well. A second time to really get it up to par.
Yeah, I definitely. I was gonna say like the idea of a expanded Stormwind is just like for me would just be awesome. Especially when I started and because technically I started with a trial at the end of Burning Crusade, but didn't actually pick up the game officially until Wrath started. But whenever you, as an Alliance player, even back then, one of the first things you did was go from Elwynn Forest to Stormwind, and just going into Stormwind and hearing the music and seeing the giant statues of like Illyria and I believe it's also Turalian there as well. It was just,
Hmm.
awe-inspiring, and seeing that, but like expanded would be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to see some, honestly, Undercity. It's my favorite, my favorite city out of all of them, and the Fourth War did some damage there, and I just hope that they continue on with the Kalia Menethil storyline that they sort of started, but they haven't really picked it back up yet.
Right. I'm sure
Yeah,
it's coming because yeah, I love Undercity as well. Was such a cool city.
Northrend, I think there's some ties to, of course, I mean, Arthas is gone, but Kalia, I think, might have a role to play in The Last Titan, you know?
yeah, and the as far as her role, it was I think like you said, they're setting her up. And Gosh, there's just so many storylines that I can think of that either have been set up in the past, or that we kind of see where they're going. And yeah, having Kalia just to explore more about her would be really interesting, especially since she is a priest, and we know what being a priest does, since she's undead, and the amount of pain it causes, even though technically, like, she could heal herself or even use the light, but it still like sears her flesh, and just it's a tremendous amount of pain to put oneself in.
Yeah, I think those all make for like really interesting characters, and the undead are like very very interesting race. But we have a new race coming in, the Harnair, and we saw them in the War Within. We had somebody named Orwena who we met in Hollowfall, and she followed us, or I think we may have met her near Ajkahet. There was a transition between the two, but I know that she was kind of seated around in that story, but now we get Harandar and the race. Have either of you started a Haranir? Or are you planning on?
You can't technically once you get through the main quest line over there, it's just like they were in the War Within, where they were locked until the full release day. So you can
Okay,
do the quests and stuff like that, but you can't create the character until Tuesday.
okay. So just do the quest anyways, and then when the server resets, you'll have the opportunity.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it might also be the once you complete her or the Haranir storyline as a whole. um, uh, I can't remember if it's her specifically, or it's a different, like, Haranir holding a portal open in Silver Moon City, but it does mention like you have to wait 4 days for something else to happen, and I'm guessing that's going to be the Haranir race unlock. Could be something else, um, but so far. I'm actually really happy that we really get to see her more, because she was a question mark arguably throughout the whole War Within expansion. Didn't really get to do much with her. At least she wasn't uh, too involved in the story, but I know she had extra quests. However, seeing her and her people have been really cool, especially the just how outlandish some of the druid forms look. They are, especially like the bat ears on the bear, and the it's just you see it and you're like, oh god, he's gonna eat me.
Right. It's interesting seeing when if you once you go through the quest, some will say uh the night elves, right, are descendants from trolls, right? Trolls were there first, but I think the Heronir were there first.
Do you think so? Maybe they are the progenitor as opposed to a link between.
Yeah, if you go, I don't want to give away like spoilers, but
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of revealed going through their main quest line.
Okay, so the
What
lineage is a
happened,
little
why
different than
they've
what
been
people thought.
secluded. Right, yeah. Why they haven't been on the top world.
Yeah. Okay. So people are going to get to see a lot more about the Harnir come Tuesday. Then they, I guess, are unlocked by completing the Harnir quest lines, and 10 classes will be available, excluding Death Knight, Demon Hunter, Evoker, and Paladin. And they do have, as you mentioned, various really interesting druid forms because they are available to play as druids, and they have that really cool root walking uh, racial. So I'm really interested to see how that works out, and like if it's location based, you have to be in a certain zone to use it.
Yeah, I haven't checked that myself. Obviously, it might have been on the beta, but I wasn't really paying attention to it too much. I was trying to go in as spoiler free as possible, but the one thing I'm excited about them is just their aquatic form being axolotl.
Oh yeah, that looks great. I'm really excited about that. I'm race changing my Worgen over to Harndir or Harnar.
Yeah, I'll probably do a race change because I just leveled two new druids. You know, I would like their form, but I don't want to go through the whole
Level
leveling
another
process
one.
again.
I
Yeah.
I did think about leveling another one, but um, yeah, I don't know. Uh, I think I already have like three, so I should just
Just
race
one more,
change
so you have one for each spec.
one for each spec, right? That's what I should do.
Hmm.
This is definitely something I should finish leveling the third one, and then maybe I can make a Harnier. Um, yeah. So with that, also we got player housing in this. Technically, I think a lot of people are going to see this as a sort of war within feature because it came so early. But I'm really glad that they did drop it as early as they did, so that we can get kind of all the bugs out, and they've already made plenty of changes, and that those aren't competing with changes that they might be making in these coming weeks. So this has actually been something that people have been wanting for almost the entire existence of World of Warcraft. Like from the very beginning, there's like forum posts of people who are asking for a housing feature, and this, as they said, is designed as an evergreen system. So it's not specific to Midnight, and they're just going to continue to expand it. And also, they seem to be going back and slowly working on bringing really iconic things from the classic world, like the throne in Blackrock Depths, or perhaps a throne on Icecrown Citadel, and just like cool items. They've mentioned wanting to bring those back. They're going to do them slowly. So they're not only adding to this system going forward, they are retrospectively looking back and adding this system in integrating it into more of the game, which I think is great. We got 2 plots for every account, for every Warband account. Founders Point for the Alliance, Razorwind Shores for the Horde, and so basically you get 2 houses per account. You can do public, and which is automatically created. It's very easy to get into, or join a guild or private charter, which was bugged for a little bit, but I think they have fixed most of that stuff. There's a lot that has come out with this feature, and I think they even we had like 4 million players that had engaged with housing in his first 2 weeks. That was one of the notes that we had from looking basically what Blizzard has been talking about, and a lot of their advertisements have been centered around housing. So as they go out and advertise for this expansion, which they haven't really advertised for a lot of their expansions in a big way, and this time they are. They've had a lot of partnerships with different places. They showed up at an NFL game. They did a partnership with Zillow. They did something else with Pinterest. So they're really pushing this expansion. I think is really interesting. What do you guys think about the angle that they've had with advertising this time around?
Uh, Honestly, very good. Uh, Regrettably, WoW hasn't had a lot of advertising since um, really Wrath of the Lich King, and I know we were discussing, the classic commercials with like Mr. T and William Shatner and such, and for them to recognize that they have something valuable is really reassuring, and hopefully, since this is basically the first expansion that they've done under Microsoft fully. You know, by the time Activision Blizzard was bought out, the War Within was already basically complete. So hopefully Microsoft doesn't stop giving them an advertising budget or an ability to really show players and the public at large, this is a game that's still going, still changing, still evolving, and they have these really cool features that are worth investing in.
Yeah, I think we can actually expect to see a lot more advertising.
Yeah, I don't watch too much TV anymore, so I don't know how it's going on that aspect, right? I think I have seen some stuff on some YouTube videos, and to be honest, I think probably if they are trying to get a new, at least a younger user base, because I think a lot of the WoW players that really play WoW are people that have been playing for a long period of time and then brought their family into it.
Hmm.
But I know a lot of younger people don't really watch too much, like let's say like cable, like TV anymore. So like YouTube, places like that is really where they would be able to digest, or get that type of promotional stuff going on, right?
Yeah, they've had a number of different ad campaigns this time around, but quite a bit of them have been centered on housing, and so I think it's really interesting that they sort of picked one of the features and really put a spotlight on it. And I think probably some of the motivation for moving forward with putting housing in, one of the expansions in this trilogy was from Microsoft, and it was from discussions about scaling up, scaling their games division. I think Microsoft was there was a report of them wanting like a 30% um, profit margin for any of their departments, but games typically are somewhere between like 15 to 20%, 15 to 18%. And so there was concern that Microsoft was not going to really work well with the Xbox division and what the future of that was. But it seems like with Asha there and some of the changes they've made, that this isn't just something that is happening because Asha just got the job. This is something that they've been planning on scaling up, and that has made its way down, and now we hear Holly talking about this isn't just a game. It's more than a game. We can do more than this. So I think we can expect to see a lot more from Blizzard and World of Warcraft in a lot of different places, different media showing up, and TikTok videos and YouTube.
For sure.
Yeah, and just their prioritizing, having evergreen features, not just garrison here or a artifact led expansion there. Invest in things that are going to be beneficial, not just for them the whole time, but more so the players for every time they log in from now on into the future.
Yeah. So we already know about season 1 and some of what we can expect to launch in just a week or two. We get 8 new dungeons, and our season 1 Mythic Plus pool includes some old oldies but goodies. I think, personally, Pit of Sauron was such a fun dungeon for me. I played it a lot. I basically was grinding that dungeon for months trying to get a dagger from it, and it almost never dropped. And I finally got it. But I have fond memories of that place. But I know that there was a lot of people that had stuff to say about that. But we are getting alongside that Skyreach from Warlords of Draenor, Seat of the Triumvirate from Legion, Algathar Academy from Dragonflight, and we have Magister's Terrace, Mysara Caverns, Nexus Point Zenith, and Windrunner's Spire for our Mythic Plus pool. Because of our Mythic rating, I know a lot of our guildies are going to be doing Mythic Plus quite often. Is this something you guys are going to focus on for the season?
I definitely will be. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I definitely will be. Usually, more towards like the early part of the season, just grinding for, what might be a best in slot weapon and to get a crest, of course, and helping other guildies get their crests and stuff. I was gonna say I like the fact that some of these dungeons are non-linear in fashions, like the Nexus. Algathar Academy is also non-linear. You kind of get to choose which way you want to go. Of course, there is going to be a meta way, right? To down the bosses and stuff like that. But I like the fact that you get to pick and choose. And I'm excited for season 1. As so far from what I've seen personally, from the dungeons that I've experienced, they seem like they're a lot of fun and they're going to be challenging in Mythic.
Do you like the classic lineup?
Yeah, I like it. Yep.
The 4 dungeons from that they're bringing back.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Algathar Academy. Pit of Sauron's cool too, and I forgot the other ones that you said, but
Seat of the Triumvirate from Legion and Skyreach from Warlords of Draenor.
Skyreach.
Skyreach is actually notably really annoying because there's a portion in there where you have to run against the wind, but
the wind part,
they've made a
Right.
change that it only takes one player to get through it, and once they're on the other end, they can hit some kind of button and it just stops, like it's off.
Yep, there's a little
Or
lever
teleports
to turn it
them.
off.
I'm not sure what it is, but it's just like
Mhm.
it negates that mechanic for everybody after that, which is actually really good for Mythic Plus. I think that's an important change.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm definitely going to be focusing on N plus as well. I do, love to do the Mythic Plus. It's just a lot of fun, and since I have always been a tank, I will always have a place to be filled. So I'm probably going to be doing a lot of them, with the guild and everything. And as far as the classic selection, I think it's pretty good. Algathar, like Shaq said, like that. Pit of Sauron wouldn't be my first choice, but not a bad one, I don't think. The only one that, whenever I heard it, was sort of a question mark was Seat of the Triumvirate, because that was very famously a very punishing and hard dungeon to do on the M plus during Legion. However, I know they have definitely made a lot of both not just damage reductions as far as what the mobs can do to you, but I believe they did a lot of functional changes as well. So I'm excited to see how that's going to really work out, and if it's still going to be as punishing, hopefully not, and can't wait to get everything started in, I guess, about a week from now, or no, 2 weeks, March 17th.
Yeah, that's when we'll get all of that. Um, so moving on into raids, we have a different structure for our raids this time around, and unlike last expansion, the War Within, where we had 8 raid bosses for every season, we have 9 raid bosses in this season. We have 6 in the Void Spire, which is supposed to be the primary raid and set in Zeltas Fortress. There's the Dream Rift. It's only one boss, experimental single boss raid where primordial dreams meet reality, is the description we have. And then finally, this isn't coming until March 31st, I believe. We have the March on Quell Danas, and this is only 2 bosses. Belloren, Void Corrupted Phoenix, and I believe you can actually get that boss. I think that boss drops it, or the final boss of this raid will drop a version of that mount. And then Lura, Light Creature Corrupted by Void. And then we're also going to get 4 world bosses, and Blizzard has also committed to 2 additional one boss raids in patches 12.0.7 and 12.1.5, signaling a shift towards more frequent, smaller raid releases. Do you think this is a good direction to go with rating?
Hmm. I think it's an interesting one. We have had um, singular or two boss raids in the past. The one that comes to mind, I believe it was a BFA where it was an old god or two. Um, I remember very specifically it being a quite a difficult dance to do. I can't remember the specifics, unfortunately, but ever since then they haven't done it just because of the way it sort of turned out. But I think it's I don't know. It's hard to really estimate or really uh, think about if it's going to be good or bad. I think it's personally, I think it's good. Just have a little breakup in the, the look of where you're at. Like you're not just staring at, for example, if you're in Manaforge Omega, just purples and blues the whole time. And hopefully, we sort of see little variety in terms of the boss mechanics as well. And you're right. I want that new um, Belloren mount because that combination purple and uh, uh, yellow light infused and void infused Phoenix is very, very pretty.
Yeah. Um, do we think that we're going to take a different approach to rating because of the split?
I think I think so. Blizzard has expressed that they want all the players to be able to enjoy the content, and they've also expressed that they um, they want the raid content to further along more parts of the story, which is why I think they've split it up. And now, if you are a solo player, let's say you like WoW, you like the world, you're just not a raider, and so they have storyline or story mode for all the raids now, and I think that that's like a big part of this whole change that they've done. I personally, I like the smaller raids. I like more zones. You know, I like to see more big zones, more epic things that like can carry on like a big part of the storyline, rather it just being one huge, castle, and it's like, oh, the princess is in another castle, but it's like, like you just like it's like all the baddies are now in this one place, right? Not across the world. And I think we talked about this last time. I thought it was cool back in Northrend and other previous expansions and stuff like that, where you had the Twilight Dragons down there, you had Malagos, you had Archivon, you had like all these like little parts and stuff and pieces that all kind of came together for the whole story. Plus, you did have the big raids, right? You did have Arthas, in his in the Citadel, at the end and stuff like that, which had and Ulduar, right, which had the baddies that were part of that, but like all these like little teeny bite-sized raid type stuff to progress the storyline, and also maybe that might be better for some guilds to just like tackle like a couple. Some guilds aren't as hardcore, and to tackle a couple bosses a night. Tonight we're going into that instance, and we'll finish it because it's like two to three bosses. That might be really beneficial for their community.
How do you think this rotation is going to work for us when, let's say, we have a full week where we probably got it on farm and we've got these 8 bosses down, or these 9 bosses, and then in 12.0.7 we get another, and it's in a completely different raid. It's only one boss. Like, do we drop one of the raids? I think maybe like the smartest thing would be to determine which one we don't need gear from, but there might be someone who needs a really good trinket, so we have to keep running, the Dream Rift.
Right. How they divvy out the gear is going to be the ultimate factor, I think, there, at least for us, like moving forward in progression. And if we take it out of the full rotation, or if we add it in, I mean, yeah, it's all going to be different, like item level stuff, because we might be still progressing Mythic in previous raids, right? But then this comes out. Now we grab that. If it's going to be a higher item level, right? Then we got to go and got to grab that stuff for the people that it's going to be for. Hopefully, they've got everybody covered there, right? Everybody's going to want a piece, of gear from, let's just say, a one boss raid that comes out during a patch. Yeah. But if that allows us to also push towards our Mythic rating, right, in the previous raids, then so be it, right? You would hopefully want to be able to, as a Mythic guild, let's just say for trophy sake, right? That you would want to be able to finish those raids before that raid came out. But I don't mind if it's going to help, in progression. If it's still, let's just say, like within the same season.
Yeah.
It might be weird for some world first, or I don't know. It might be weird for some guilds. What do you think?
I think it's going to be really interesting. Personally, the only thing that I genuinely care about is the fact that I get to experience story on the at the raid level, because there's a lot of different things that World of Warcraft does in terms of storytelling, and that's like explicitly telling you, the player, what's going on through quest text and having you run through a storyline and hear them. Especially now, they have so many voice lines just standing there, and you can listen to them talk, and that's a dialogue option, which I love. And there's a lot of that, but one of the things that I really love about World of Warcraft is the environmental storytelling. And ever since the first iteration of this game, you can talk to no one and you still can feel there's like a story here. And I think Pandaria was one of the greatest iterations of them expressing their vision through environmental storytelling. And I'm really excited that having multiple raids, it means that the design team is going to design visually and drastically different places, as opposed to just one really big raid for this patch, right? Like last time I loved Ajkahet and I love spiders. I think that whole thing was amazing. I just love arachnids, so that was really fun for me. But I think a lot of people didn't like arachnids, right? And some people weren't really into helping the Nerubians because they didn't like the way the story was playing out. So if in that season we had several different um, options of raids to go to, some people might have just skipped, the Ajkahet raid and just went to the others.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, how we discussed with our look back at the War Within, the idea of us going from a normal type of raid in Narubar Palace and then going into the Undermine and having something so refreshingly different um, was really a it was a good thing for us as players. We really got to see a different side, both to the goblins as well as to a raiding environment and a different experience with the music. And so hopefully they'll take that and I mean, I I don't think there's anybody who could ever say or has said that the Undermine patch was bad or that they didn't like the music or the storyline. So hopefully we continue to see that sort of um, different storylines and a way to keep us involved playing should be very just something to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's refreshing. It's a refresher. I think it's like seasons can get long, right? Drawn out
Yeah.
after a period of time, and you definitely we've seen it. I think all guilds see it. Where people start, they're not showing up to raids anymore. It's like, oh man, how many times have I done this? This boss week after week after week, right? Having something new there, refreshing, is definitely a good idea.
Yeah, and so instead of being like sort of spread out like it was last expansion, we kind of have all that at once, and the delayed release of March on Quel'Thanas, almost to sort of commit to a sort of storyline, like an order. Like you
Right,
should definitely do these experiences first, and then once you've done that and you've seen what we have to show you, then we're gonna drop this, and this is
right.
like this is the end of the chapter for this first season. You know?
And you know what? I'd be willing to bet, like on Keishi or whatever that app is, that monetarily wise, I can like I don't want to say for certain, but I would think I would put a good percentage on players actually dropping their monthly subscription after a period of time until the new content comes out. And so this is going to be something monetarily wise, which will increase revenue for uh, World of Warcraft in the long run.
Yeah, the increased engagement, right? We got a delayed opening for
Yeah,
that one on March 31st, but then we're also getting another one in 12.0.7 whenever that comes out. And then shortly after that we'll get season 2, and then shortly after that 12.1.5, and that's going to be a one boss raid. And so there's like for any individual guild, those guilds will stay engaged, and that will keep the guild mates in that guild engaged, and so it's sort of like trickle down. I think it's really smart to continuously have all their content spread out.
right, right. There's going to be some naysayers out there, who I mean could recognize like, well, they're just keeping people tied, in the thing. But I mean, honestly, like as a player that's also, even if they are getting more money over time, like because of that, that's also a good thing because that means more revenue is also going into the game, which means more content and better content. So
They've also made changes to how we upgrade gear, and there was a really confusing iteration of how you use the upgrade tokens to upgrade each level of your gear. And as we've seen in these recent expansions, we get gear in 4 tiers. And as you know, for each of the tiers, you're able to move through, I think it's like 6 to 8 different item levels. And so like there's like a like a 4 to 7 item level jump for each one of them. And so it's initially for midnight they were going to do it where you get something at the bottom of a tier, right? So now it has 5 options to level up, and the first 2 are like 20, and then the next 2 you'd have to pay 40 points to upgrade them into those, and then the next 2 would have to be 60, and the math started to get really weird. And it is going to start to require add-ons just to do the math on like looking at 2 pieces of gear, but they're at a different level. So like it's going to cost more to upgrade your belt, and it's only going to increase the same amount of item level that it would if you upgrade your boots, but because they're at different item levels it's going to cost you something different. So they threw all that out and they made it so that you can just pay 20 for each level as you go through for I think all of them, and I believe there's an achievement that you get when you reach a certain item level. And so it's like this average item level overall, so it's like you have all champion gear, you have all hero gear, you get an achievement. I saw something about once you get the achievement, for all of your alts, leveling up through that tier is easier, like it costs less.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So if on my main I get the heroic, you're all heroic geared out, then anything for like champion gear and below, the cost of like the 20 points and such that you would have to pay is like less. There's supposed to be a discount.
Kind of like how it was like on a single player. They're kind of moving that into your whole Warbound group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm
cool.
just I'm just glad our long national nightmare with Valor Stones is over.
Oh. What? Wait. So are we done with Valor Stone? So we only have the what was it?
Crest.
It was crests now.
Yep, crests
Mm-hmm.
only.
Nice. Yeah, that was it. It was a little bit much. You know what I think it was is it was sort of weird to have all the crests that you need because you did the content because crests are kind of like that important part, and then you still can't upgrade it because you got to go and grind out time. Like you're not actually doing the hard content that requires like the really good stuff, right? Because the
You gotta
crests,
do world
because
quests
Valor
and
Stones come
other
from
things.
everywhere. So you obviously you don't go back to the mythic bosses and raid them for Valor Stones. You go do dungeons and world bosses and all this other easier stuff to grind out just to grind Valor Stones. When in reality it's the crest that people are really needing for their upgrades. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I just accepted it as the way it was, but I'm glad that there were players out there who were like, we deserve better.
Yeah, definitely.
So kudos to those guys. um, so moving on to the next section, we're going to talk about delves, some of the outdoor content, and PvP. So we have at the top of the list the prey system. It's a new outdoor hunting system, and Shakatan's going to go over some of the details of that with us. We have labyrinths, mega delves with savable progress, and those are actually going to come in 12.1.5. And then we have Slayer's Rise, a new 40 versus 40 epic battleground in Voidstorm. So we haven't got a new epic battleground in a while, so this is pretty cool. They say that it's inspired by Alterac Valley and Isle of Conquest. It's kind of mashing those things together. Outdoor PvP zone with war mode activities, world quests. Um, they still have the crates. So if you're really into crate farming and such, there is a crate farming add-on for anybody that would like to do that. If you don't want to manage the add-on, because that would mean that you would have to run the raid, you can just look in the custom groups section, and you should always be able to find a group for Nacho Party or somebody advertising they have a PvP group for crate tracking. And yeah, just big raid, and you can go out there and get those crates and have some PvP fun. We did get some CC changes. Diminishing returns grant immunity after 2 applications. It was 3. The reset timer went from 18 seconds to 16 seconds. And the gladiator cutoff drops from 2400 to 2300 rating. I wanted to start with that praise system. I know, Shakatan, you had some experience with that. What can we expect from this?
Well, there's so the prey system has a whole bunch of it's got 2 cool mounts. It's got some mana worm mounts currently that you can get,
That's
and
where they
then a
come
lot
from.
of the rewards that you can get. Yeah, they're like armored mana worms.
I
They're
saw
pretty cool.
pictures and I didn't know where they came from.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, those, and then there's armor for like each class and stuff like that.
Oh,
That's kind of like it's got like a really like metallic and red look.
oh, that's
The
cool.
prey system itself, and there's some toys and stuff as well. But there's no like from the prey system, as far as I've seen, there's either decor items or it's all just
No player
it's
power?
not like gear. What?
No player power?
No player power gear. No, it's like cosmetics and toys
Okay, so
and
so basically it's
and stuff
completely
like that.
optional.
Right. But you get chests and stuff that you win when you take down your prey your target. Which
So,
gosh.
do you want to run us through like initiating the prey system and
Right.
then the culmination of it?
Yeah, so what you do is in Silver Moon, in Murder Row, there's actually a teleport on the top ground right above it that will teleport you down into this like kind of underbelly, this dark red underbelly where you initiate your prey contracts, and you can do, I believe, I don't know if it's 4 per day or if it's 4 per week. Um, but you get 4 preys that you can do, and you get to select the area of the new zones that you want to try to stalk your prey. Each prey is going to be a little bit different, have their own mechanics and stuff like that. And in order to actually get to find your prey, what you do is you do the world quests in that zone. You can do world quests. You can hunt for rares. He's come up while I've been fishing, just doing stuff in that zone. So basically, if you're going to be doing that, if you're going to be doing your like weekly world quests and stuff like that, you might as well select that zone first for a prey kill, and then just do those weeklies to get the gear, to get the stones, crests, or not. We're not valor stones anymore, but you can get rep, you can get crests, you can get gear, and doing that will increase this. You've got this crystal icon at the bottom of the screen, and it starts out small, and then as you gradually do these things, it gets bigger and bigger to where you pinpoint where your prey is actually at. But while you do these world quests, you have a very high chance, from what I've seen, to get you get ambushed by your prey. And so you'll be fighting like some mobs, doing a world quest. Maybe you have like 2 to 3 mobs on you, and then poof, dude, they come in, they try to backstab you, and then you have to fight them for a period of time. And then, they get to about like 50% health, and then, they vanish again, and so you're kind of constantly battling them while
Okay.
you're doing these world quests until you have enough, let's just say,
Didn't Kaiveza do that?
enough points. Kind of. I
In the
guess she
Delves,
was kind of
right?
she was kind of maybe a precursor where she could just pop out of nowhere and be like,
Yeah, and then you get her
haha.
to 50% and then she dips.
Yeah, until you like want to actually battle her, in your own
Yeah,
delve. So yeah, it's kind of like that. I think they took that idea and they're like, let's just run with something like that, right?
yeah.
And
That's okay. That's really cool. I like that.
yeah, so if you're going to be doing world quests throughout, throughout your week and stuff like that, you might as well just select a prey and and just do those world quests at the same time, because it just kind of goes hand in hand. It's really easy to find your prey if you're doing the world questing and you're just doing stuff in the zone.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. So for I know that we're not getting labyrinths yet, um, but we do have some delve content already available. What do you guys think about the delves that we do have, and are you excited about the labyrinths that we're getting coming up?
I think so far so good. The um, as we discussed in the War Within when we were looking back on it, and just it being a good system for realistically all of us, especially if you're a big person who does alts. Um, the So far the only complaint that I've really heard is our rogue friend Kane saying how bad of a rogue she really is, and refuses to cloak and dies a lot from magic damage.
Refuses to cloak.
Mm. But yeah, the so far the most fun one has been in Haranar, excuse me. Um, and That's been with our mushroom friends having a giant arena set up, and we have to go in there and boot the small fries out and kill the big guys. So I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, Grudge Pit. I ran a whole bunch of delves with my buddies last night with two others, and man, we just tore those delves up. I mean, granted, it was at tier one. I'm tier three on my main, but I was just helping them out, and we were getting through those delves pretty dang fast. It'll be cool. It'll be cool to see what they do with the labyrinth system.
Yeah,
I,
I really like delves. I didn't spam them and do like a ton of them. But when I do use them to gear up, I did like that it was an option. And I was able to get decent gear in normally throughout the week, if you don't make the time to, cut out a couple hours, like a solid block to grind out some mythic pluses, or even just a full 40 minutes to do one mythic plus with your guilds, your guild mates, you could fall behind on gear. But with delves, I could jump in and then just walk away whenever I need to go take care of my baby, or do something around the house. There's like something to do. I can do it on the weekends. I can do it whenever, and get my controller out and I can open my laptop up and do it on the couch while I'm hanging out with my family, and just like not even pay attention to it. It's a really casual, passive way to play WoW, and kind of the same with farming. If you're ever out there farming and doing stuff, you can just walk away from that whenever you want. But now there's an
right.
activity that will get you gear and player power and such in the same almost passive way, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
For sure,
and
for sure.
I think the giant delve is going to be interesting too. I know they've mentioned in their interviews that they've heard a lot from players as well as themselves, even that as World of Warcraft has gone on, some of the mystery and some of the grand scale of things has been diminished a bit, which is to say, back in the day, whenever you first went into a raid, it was, you didn't just get to a boss within, say, 10 or 15 minutes. It might even take you an hour because you have to explore the whole entire raid or even dungeon just to, where to go, what to do. Maybe you went down the wrong way, thinking like Black Rock Mountain, that type of thing. So it should be interesting when that comes out and see uh, uh, how they sort of try to recapture that moment in time.
Yeah. Speaking of this casual content that's easy to kind of approach, PvP is kind of getting there. We have some new training grounds, and it pits a bunch of players against some NPCs, and they're supposed to be tuned up a little bit so that they're a little bit of a challenge. So it won't be Comp Stomp, which we got on Arathi Basin as a rotation for some PvP events, and basically they were really undertuned team of computer players, and it would just be a complete stomp every single time, and that was kind of fun to do every now and then. Um, but right now, the tuning for training grounds is they didn't do it right, and every single one of the NPCs is 89, and they hit like a tank. So the one that I went into was really difficult, and we don't have Slayer's Rise yet. I don't know if that's something that becomes available at 90, or if they're going to release that when they release um, Midnight. But what we do know about the 40 versus 40 Epic Battleground is, of course, like I said before, is set in Voidstorm. But the way that the game plays out is there's this initial base right at the center of the map, and like they said, like Isle of Conquest was one of their inspirations, and that was the same thing there. You leave your fortress, you go to the center at the workshop, you fight over it, and it kind of determines how the game is going to go from there. And you kind of go after different objectives, and that's sort of what they're pointing at to here. That there's going to be a fight for something at the center, and then whatever else happens. But if you take a look at the map, you'll see that that center they're talking about is at the center of the map in the middle of a lane. And there's a lane at the very top of the map and a lane at the very bottom of the map. And anybody who is familiar with League of Legends will recognize this shape as Summoner's Rise. And the point of the objective of this is that there are two Dominars, these Void Lords, and each one has a base at the left and right side of the map, and you and your team will be on one side or the other, quite possibly interchangeable, probably not faction specific. And there's a bunch of NPCs that roam down each of these lanes, and there's objectives along each of these lanes that you have to take in order to progress further towards the opposite faction's base, and then you have to destroy their base. And so it's literally a 40 versus 40 battleground, heavily inspired by the sort of MOBA gameplay.
I like that idea.
I think
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of
I'm a
fun.
fan of League. Yeah, I was a fan of League.
They have NPCs as well that will be fighting each other and fighting on one side or the other in the same way that like you had in Alterac Valley. So that's where the Alterac Valley inspiration comes from. And another throwback to League of Legends, there's a large NPC boss that's roaming around the map, and if you that perhaps shows up at some point, and if you kill it, your side gets a buff. And so it's sort of like the dragon, or there's another NPC that they have in the river on League of Legends. At certain points in the map during the game, it'll spawn, and if you kill it, you get a really powerful buff, and it really helps your side kind of push forward. And that's basically the same mechanic. They're throwing that in there too. So, we're gonna get a 40 versus 40 MOBA.
That's
yeah,
cool.
definitely something interesting. And as someone who doesn't really do PvP, it still sounds, like a lot of fun to try and get into. So, um, again, it's just more things to try, more things to do. So I'm just excited to try them all out.
Yeah. We have some season one meta predictions. from around. We have Icy Veins. They had rated Arcane Mage as potentially broken tier. Brewmaster Monk was rated S tier tank for season
I've been
1.
in. I just want to say I've been in some dungeons with some mages, and yeah, they are
Arcane is
pumping.
just blowing things up.
Yeah, dude.
That's great.
Crazy.
What spec are you looking like you're gonna play for season 1? You guys are sticking
Oh,
with
you
the
know me.
same?
I'm gonna be on my Windwalker.
All right. And you're just gonna stay on the Paladin. You've been playing Paladin for a long time, right, Templar?
Yeah, so ever since I started WoW, Paladin and more specifically Protection has been my main, so I will be sticking to that. But one thing that I've been debating, because I've never really got into it, is maybe trying out, maybe not necessarily Holy Pally, but just as an alt, having a healer to try, just, for a little more variety. But generally speaking, I haven't really put my alts through anything other than leveling and then like professions. But I'm thinking I might actually try some and to get them up to snuff and give them a go.
Okay. Let's see.
What about you, AON?
I am I'm definitely sticking with my druid. I've had a lot of fun with resto, so I definitely want to heal. I don't know that I'm gonna heal in raids. I think I want to pull one of my rogues out and use that for raiding. I think it'd be really interesting to do mythic raiding as a DPS. This is the first time I've ever really done like top end raiding, and healing has been pretty fun. But I started out as a DPS, and my rogue is like my main. But I won't even be bringing that rogue. I have like a whole nother rogue that I'm gonna bring for raid. But I'll probably be healing mythic pluses and pushing mythic pluses with my resto. So I mean, I'll still have the gear to jump into raiding, and I'll still know the fights because of my rogue. So basically, I'll just be a lot more flex this expansion than last one, because last one was mostly healer. I had a couple that I could bring in every now and then. Like I brought in a tank one time during Undermine, but yeah, I didn't really flex too often. So this time I want to definitely try that.
Well, just looking at the current tier list for healers, they do have Resto as the only S tier for healing. Um, uh, so hopefully you'll have a fun time, just stomping on everybody on the healing meters.
Oh, that's gonna be that's gonna be fun. That might keep me in the rating for season 1. But we are getting those tuning passes, so we're gonna have to see. Um, yeah, I think just making certain that I keep the gear up on both of them is what I'll be focusing on. So, and that way I can jump to one or the other, because if they nerf, Resto being S tier right now, because we are getting a pass at when they release heroic and when they release the mythic tier.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where our healing team is looking right now. I know Stram said he's definitely he's staying on he's leveling his Shambi first, so
Yeah,
um
but he's gonna
sounds
bring
like he's
his
gonna be
priest.
healing on that.
Oh, is he bringing the shaman? Does he made
No,
a
I'm pretty
decision?
sure I think he's gone back. I don't think he really cared for the priest.
Oh, okay.
Um yeah, sounded
He,
like it
yeah,
was
priest is
lackluster
it's
for him.
you die really fast. You got to be real
Well, it's not
careful with the
just.
Hmm.
clothies.
I mean,
Clothies do
you're
get
talking
hit
about
hard.
Stram, yes, indeed, but like also, priest is a class that there's some finesse really that goes into it, into multi-dotting and watching all those dots. It's really important if you do really want to get your damage up. They are like they're not a bursty class. They're a class that ramps up over time, especially the more ads are out. and the more dots that you can concentrate and keeping those up, it's a very involved class. And so, you know, his numbers weren't hitting where he wanted it to, and Shadow Priests were S tier, or A plus tier, last season, and that's you just got to be able to really hunker down, to play that class the way that it's meant to be played.
Yeah, some classes are easier to hit the top end of their abilities. Like they always do those ratings and stuff, and they put everybody in like on the damage meter and like where they stack up and how well that class overall is doing and that spec overall is doing. And for some of them, it's like it doesn't take very much to do the absolute top that class is performing, that class and spec is performing right now, but they're at the bottom of the list, so it's kind of easy to be there, but you're not really. It's really kind of difficult to get to be consistently the one who's like top in the DPS charts. But then you see the other ones who are at the top of those DPS meters and the DPS rankings, and some of them, not all of them, but some of them, it requires a very complicated dance of not only focusing on the raid and doing everything you need to do with that, but also managing all of your cooldowns in a 1 or 2 or 3 tier meta type of look that you're looking at this thing, right? Like I know
Right.
that Outlaw Rogue was like that, and they simplified a lot of things with every class, so that's really good, but they still didn't take away some of that complexity with the Outlaw Rogue, which made it fun. So I like that. I like that they did do the simplification that a lot of people were really mad about. But it does. I mean, I think it's still the classes that I've played. They still feel like that class.
Right. I think it was, there's definitely, at least in my eyes, there's a problem with easy reward on specific classes,
Like
right?
hunters,
Like which
hunters are so
hunters,
easy to play,
hunters, dude, and
and
ret
historically
paladins
have
too,
been
man.
some of the strangest players that we have in WoW. It's just it's almost it's like it was a meme for still a meme about hunters, and I think just there's something that comes with how easy it is to play that class, and then you could like miss a lot of stuff.
Right. I think people shouldn't be so upset at like a certain class, if it's being played very, very well, it's doing more damage because it's just a harder class to play.
Yeah,
And if you can play that class
like
hard,
feral druid.
then yeah, you get
Mhm.
those numbers,
Yeah,
because you're not just like cycling between like 3 abilities, 4 abilities. You're not, it's like you're really having to pay attention. So yeah, I think they should put more, if they're gonna have the variance of the classes and stuff, and it's either you go one route, and you homogenize everything, which would suck, or you have your harder classes and the people that can play those classes very well do tons of damage.
yeah, definitely. Um, so we have for our next section, we're going to go into the pre-launch story, and usually Blizzard releases a lot of lore, and it's released in a number of ways, and they've changed that as they've gone through the years. But this time around, we've gotten a lot of narrative this time. And I think this again is pointing back to like scaling up and having their teams just like do more. So we got a novel, 3 short stories with audiobooks, 3 animated shorts, and a cinematic trailer. And the cinematic trailer we got was Intercession. It was released August 19th last year at Gamescom. And this is where we see Liadrin praying at the Sunwell. And, you know, they're they're supposed to, fight off the Void. Voidstorm shows up, Zaltash shows up. And she runs back down to the Sunwell. Even though her faith is a little shaky, she prays. And the light army shows up and they defend the Sunwell, and is supposed to be very cinematic, right? And it was kind of cool to see, but it was a little bit low resolution than what I think people were expecting for the first trailer that everyone was seeing. Then we got Supremacy. That was Xalatath forcing Nexus King Saladar to bend to her will. And we got to see a little bit of her backstory in that one. Then following that, we got a All That Is Sacred. We just got to see a little bit of Liadrin's backstory. There was some interesting stuff there. Then following that, we got Son of Two Worlds, and that was the Erator's cinematic, and he's being tattooed by his aunt who raised him, Varisa Windrunner, and he's sort of speaking about why he's choosing to get this tattoo, which, if you pay attention, is a dragon, two dragons that are across his body, and then they come up to the sides of his head because he's got his hair in a mohawk. It looks awesome.
He's got the light. He's got the light and the dark
Yeah, it's the symbolism is great. I love
between his
that they're
two
bringing
parents.
this character out. Like he's grown up now. He's been seated in the
Right.
story, just like Anduin was. And there's like this. It's almost like this new generation of heroes that we get to see. And I mean, Thrall kind of took a backseat in this last expansion. I know he was there and he brought the horde and he was training the Earthen to fight a war, and but he wasn't
He's
really there.
chilling.
Yeah, he was
Chilling,
hanging out.
bro.
Dude, he's a dad.
You know what?
He's not at the front lines.
He's
anymore.
coming back. Right. I think we're gonna see him eventually pop back up. I mean, he's got to with
We got Metzen back. We
with the
might as
last
well.
Titan coming in, and yeah. I just wanted to make one little note that when people express a dismay or upset at like let's say the cinematic of midnight where Xalatath opens the portal, right, and she does all the praying and all that stuff. So in the War Within, our intro cinematic was Thrall and Anduin, two characters sitting in the sand with a sword, right, which is what all this is about, which is and there's something to be said at cost of production. And so if you have just two characters, yeah, Anduin's gonna have pores in his face, and he's gonna have, and Thrall's gonna be like super detailed because they could spend the money and stuff to do that, But
we did get it.
Midnight, right? But the midnight, release there's a lot of action going on. There's a lot of assets, a lot of 3D assets, in the same amount of time that they get to do a cinematic between two dudes talking, right?
I think that they chose well. I just think that they communicated. I think they communicated it poorly because players over time do have an expectation of having one really high resolution cinematic that is like the cinematic that you associate with the launch or release of an expansion. And this is
Right.
the first time, this would absolutely have been the first time in the history of World of Warcraft that an expansion did not get one of those. And we see as we played through the game that we did get that cinematic, and it followed. It's basically just Arator and Xalatath, so like you're saying, much less assets. There was a war going on though. It was the assault on the Sunwell, and we got to see that in high resolution, which was amazing. So we did actually get that cinematic. It was just I understand that players definitely shouldn't just be jumping to being negative and upset about it because it was a great cinematic anyways. So being able to see the Army of Light, I almost expected Hurricane to start playing for when they were walking up over the crest, right? And they come into view, and it just felt like a really epic moment. I think that was great. It was great cinematic.
Right.
But people had that expectation. I think it absolutely should have been communicated, even if they didn't say what it was. They just said, "Hey, we hear you, we understand, but what you are talking about, it's coming, and you're gonna love it." Right? But they didn't say that.
I think I think people will be pleasantly surprised how we talked about at the very beginning of the show with with the amount of in-game cinematics that they're doing and voiceover work, the shorts, that you're talking about,
Mhm.
it's more content, and
Yes.
if it's going to be spread out across different formats, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I love more in-game cinematic stuff,
I
man,
mean,
as the storyline progresses.
speaking of different formats, we also got a lot of written content. We got three fairly long stories. If you download the PDF, which they are available to download as these three stories, they're pretty decent read. It would take you a little bit to get through. I mean, not very long, about an hour. And you can, depends on how fast you read. If you're a fast reader, probably in like 20, 30 minutes. But for each one of them, they were narrated by the voice actor for that character for that story, which is just amazing. We had The Void Between. They released that on January 23rd this year, and it was written by Alex Axe, and it was narrated by Kirk Thornton, and that is Grand Magister Romoth. And it follows Romoth and Magister Umbrick's fractured relationship, shared history as young magisters through blood elf tragedies, and, leaves the question, can they ally before Zalatas invasion? And then we had The Quiet at the End of Us. That was late February. That was actually very recently, a couple days ago. We had Hugo Award winner Catherine M. Vallant, who had written that. And it was narrated by Ike Amati as Amarak. A literary reflective story about two Harner whose discovery of a forbidden rootway to Azeroth's surface transforms their friendship. And then I wanted to then talk about The Quiet at the End of Us. When we get past this, there's definitely some that I want to say about this. This was an amazing stories by, or sorry, The Legacy of the Imani. This was by Graham Roswell. It was narrated by Mila Lee as Chieftain Zuljara, and it follows Zuljara, the granddaughter of Zul'jin, and she must prove her right to lead fractured Imani tribes after centuries of war, lost Loa connection, and a rival's challenge. And that one was epic, and the
And you know
the
what? And
writing was amazing.
you're gonna see more of that once you get in game, bro.
I hope so. Like
I'll
I
just say
can't
that.
wait
Hmm.
for the extension of that story there. And then we also have the
Yeah.
novel Blood Ties by Christy Golden, and that was released last year, November 18th, 2025. And based on like what I've read in The Legacy of the Imani, and I listened to it, right? I haven't listened to the other two, but both the other two, The Void Between and The Quiet at the End of Us, are an hour long. And if they are anything like The Legacy and the Imani, I know that they're all different authors, but oh, I mean, it was amazing. I cried at least 4 times listening to the story, and it is such an intimate look at a character and what she's going through and the history of the trolls. And trolls are really interesting characters. I like them, but I've never really
Mhm.
been.
And her brother, right?
Yes,
It
it's
mentions
her.
her brother.
It's
Yeah.
her and her brother is kind of going along
Yeah.
this little adventure. Um, but it's heartbreaking. What this character has endured and what she, uh, you know, um, the burden of leadership that she has on her shoulders, and it's such a good story, and it's written so well. Um, I was shocked by how well it was written. Not that WoW doesn't typically have like great writing, but there was just, I don't know, an intensity with this writing, and it was all appropriate. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Did Have you guys read Blood Ties or seen
Well,
or listened to any of these?
yeah, where are you what formats are you listening to these on?
Each of the 3 hour long narrations are on World of Warcraft's YouTube. Um, so they're available
Okay,
there.
for free.
Yes, for free, so you can listen to them. There's also a blog post, I believe, for each of these that would be on World of Warcraft's page, and you should be able to download a PDF for each of these, and you can just
Okay.
read it for free if you would like to do it that way. But I highly recommend the YouTube version. There's not really anything to look at. I think the screen doesn't really change, or maybe it goes through a couple different pieces of art, but it's not really a visual thing. The art is just
Right.
there because it's YouTube, so you could just listen to it in your ear while you're like doing something else, or like maybe while you're actually in the zone for like the Amani, you can listen to the Legacy of the Amani story. When you're maybe in like Silver Moon, you can listen to The Void Between because it covers um, these blood elves and like the stuff that they're going through. Um,
I wonder if
yeah,
they have it on Spotify, because I'd like to listen to it into like almost like a podcast format where I don't have to like keep my screen up on YouTube, right? I can just
yeah.
like listen to it. Blizzard,
Um,
if you're listening.
I mean, I'm not sure if it'll work on your phone or not, but what I typically do is I will go to the browser, open up YouTube, full screen the video, press play. I turn my screen off, it pauses, and then when I activate my screen again, I can typically there's like a play button on the screen that I can hit play and it'll play because the browser was full screen. But if it's not full screen, it won't work. It won't let me play from my lock screen. And then I can just turn the screen back off again. I don't know if that would
Right.
work for you, but you can give it a shot. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know if they would have it on Spotify. But maybe just when you're playing, you know, just bring it up
Right. Just listen to it.
and listen
Yeah.
to it. I don't. It's great. I'm excited to listen to the other two, and actually, it makes me want to buy the Blood Ties novel now. You know, I'm very much motivated to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to listen to them yet, but you describing them definitely makes me want to go out and listen to them. I do know that the people that they usually have read it are just like, either the voice actors who play the characters in the game, or they have otherwise professional people who listen to it. I'm sorry, who read it, excuse me. But it's always excellent to hear them and to hear them play out the way the characters speak and everything.
Yeah. So for the story, for where we're going, this of course it continues directly from the War Within. Zalathath is continuing down the path that she started, and she's unleashed a void storm upon the Sunwell. We've got a lot of people coming into the story to come here to defend the story. We have Lorthamar kind of up front and center. Alaria, we had a little bit of hints towards Sylvanas, maybe, and
We
Aratar
got a
with that
four
quest line.
dragon.
Mm-hmm.
We got
Yes.
four dragon coming back.
We've got a
Yeah.
dungeon for Silver or Windrunner Spire, and there's some lore and such in there. So it almost feels like maybe we're bringing back all the Windrunners at some point during this trilogy. Maybe not this expansion, but by the
There's a
time
family story being told for sure, right?
there's yes, and I think so far has served to bring Avatar to the front, which I've liked. But I'm really excited to see where else we're going with that, because the Windrunners really are like a really big part of the lore for Warcraft.
Yeah, and I think that Kalia, we may have had in previous games, or like the very first Warcraft games, or earlier on in World of Warcraft, they might have been mentioned, or maybe even seen a little bit, but we really haven't expanded upon Erator and the Windrunners, like, for example, their dead brother, and we see him in the Windrunner dungeon, and to really go more in depth to that, I'm very excited to see.
So, in one of the interviews, the developers did mention that a lot of key characters are going to die. there's going to be a lot of death. Out of who we have so far, who do you think is going to be on the chopping block? I doubt it's going to be Arator or anybody we just recently got.
That's a good
It's not
question.
going to be Valeria. It's not going to be Valeria. She's going to go through some pain, as Zalatath has already told her, and she said all the people that you love are going to die around you, right? She's gonna like that. Zalatath basically told her, or is that or the Void Windwalker,
Illyria.
right? Yeah, Ilaria.
Mhm.
Yeah. Zalatath basically told her right at the very end. She's like, you're gonna suffer now, and all the people around you that you love are gonna die.
Yeah.
And I think those are, like Zalatath ain't mincing words. She definitely has a plan.
that we might have uh the return of Sylvanas have something to do with that. Like she's down there. If anybody's gonna die, Sylvanas is gonna be the one escorting that soul. We might get something. We might get like a little bit of they might
Terralion,
trick
dude.
us. And be like, oh, look at all these people, they died, and then Sylvanas just brings them all back.
There's gonna be a point, I believe, that from what I've seen in the storyline so far, I think Terralion has a high chance. I think his zealous for the light is gonna kind of overcome him, as it has for some other important characters that if you do the dungeons and the quest line, you will find out they are no longer there. I will. Yeah, I don't want to give anything away because I've already seen a couple of deaths right now. So it's like, that's up for other characters. I think there's going to be quite a few people from the light end are going to, there's going to be some big players that go down.
Yeah, I think I would agree. It probably would be Terralion would be the first thought, just not only because of his zealotry, but also just the um, him having uh, dealt with all of this. I mean, we have to remember that uh, not only is Illyria, who is his wife, that she lives for how many years because of her being an elf, but that Terralion has lived for 1,000 extra years because of the war that they've been fighting with against the Void when the two of them before coming back to Azeroth. So he is you know a hardened battle warrior, and um, I just think that because I mean, if Eritor is dealing with the struggles of his mom being someone who is empowered by the void, and his father someone being empowered by the light, Terralion also has to struggle with his wife, having a dark Naru inside her. So um, I think there's going to be more delving into that and what that means for him, Illyria, and Eritor.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this story playing out, and so far it's been awesome. I haven't I've always enjoyed the WoW story and the story that they tell us in a number of ways, but this expansion is really, I don't know, like raised the bar.
Yeah, and again, go back to that quote, and it does seem like they're really putting in the effort to make this just as good as Legion.
Yeah, that was a prediction from Ian. Yeah, so speaking of predictions, we want to take a look at some of the things we can expect from, I guess, Blizzard in uh, sort of coming up. So, in terms of some of the business side of things, Xbox has, I mean, some of their gaming divisions in Xbox has had some revenue fall, and I think we were talking about this earlier. There is a 30% profit margin target across the board in Microsoft, and I think Satya was quoted as saying that the Xbox games division is supposed to be like, it's got a different target. And also, I believe Holly or some executives from Blizzard had mentioned that they're not really being like held to like a 30% profit margin as well. But we do have a lot of different monetary things that are going to change things for Microsoft, which now is going to affect Blizzard, like whether we like it or not. There was a rumor that WoW was supposed to be on Game Pass, but there was, I guess, an erroneous January email marketing email that was quickly corrected. But somebody, Central's Jez Corden, had speculated about potential Game Pass Ultimate bundling. So people are like speculating about where um, WoW's sort of going to fit into Microsoft gaming services, and yeah, I think it's interesting that people might have thought like WoW was coming to Game Pass, but do you think that would be good for the game or bad if they bundled that with perhaps like the Ultimate Game Pass?
Got to run the numbers. I mean, if WoW is making a good amount of money separate with their $15 a month, right? Just for one game, right? Just for one game. And its subscriber base, which, is I feel like is pretty high right now. We don't know what the subscriber base looks like for something like Xbox Live. Um, I don't know if I mean, maybe it's out there, in their annuals or something like that with their shareholders, but um, that's hard to even like really. Gosh, I couldn't even say like don't fix what works or don't try to fix what already works, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
Blizzard
maybe for a limited
let's just
time.
say Blizzard, not Activision Blizzard, but just Blizzard has done this way for a long period of time and it's worked.
Mhm. And maybe if there was like for the summer, you know, it's on Game Pass, but then now, if you want to keep playing, you gotta go get that subscription.
You have
Yeah.
to get that subscription.
Yeah, like if you no, I mean if you put it on Game Pass, you get a bunch of Xbox players, obviously on their PCs playing World of Warcraft for a few months. You do it over the summer, so you get a lot of people out of school, get that kind of crowd, get them in there. They start playing, they make an account. It's on Game Pass, so they have access to it. And now the promotion's over, summer's over. There's no more there's no more World of Warcraft on Game Pass. And if you are interested and you enjoyed the gameplay you had just been introduced to, you'll then go and start up a subscription. Instead of you're not going to be able to get it from Game
Right.
Pass anymore. So if it's limited time,
If they're going to do it, they have to do it either that way or they have to offer users an option, because I can tell you there's a lot of World of Warcraft players that don't play other Microsoft Xbox games, right?
yeah,
They're
I
not
don't.
interested in whatsoever, right? And if they have to pay more, if they have to go and pay more for an Xbox Game Pass because they're going to get these extra games, they don't give an F about those games, they
Yeah,
don't
definitely
care.
keep them
So
separated.
it's right. So
Hmm.
you can't just bundle it all together and call it done. It has to be. I think it's very wise for them to keep the Xbox subscription separate. If they want it added in as a bonus, um, to Game Pass, then I think that that could be a thing. And you know what? They can't make that. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. What are you going to add it in? Is your Xbox Premium plus Worldcraft now going to be $15 extra, or are you going to give an incentive to the players that are already like playing Xbox games, right? And make it like $5 to $10 extra to play World of Warcraft, right? Because you can't alienate one group, right? Like out of like that whole thing. So it's like, oh, if you offer Game Pass if you offer uh, World of Warcraft for $5 extra in your Game Pass thing, right? Then there's going to be some players who are like, well, these players are they're getting this game for only $5 while I'm paying $15, and maybe they move across over, but not all the gamers are going to be like that. That's a hard thing to do. I can't even. That's a give me
We'll
the numbers,
see.
bro, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's just too much to like theory craft on it.
Well, Blizzard does have. Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say the only thing that I would really have concern is just the fact that it keeps rising in cost, and not just for like World of Warcraft has luckily been pretty steady, but all kinds of online services, especially the Xbox Game Pass, has unfortunately increased a lot in price. So if they could maybe sort of if you pay $5 extra, you could get World of Warcraft. That might be good, but still keep World of Warcraft separate just to keep the cost down.
Yeah, yeah. That I think that's a pragmatic approach. So for Blizzard, and how they're looking forward, it seems that Blizzard's strategy is to reset WoW's foundation to be more accessible, as Ian has said, definitely less add-on dependent, and because of that, more sustainable long term. The add-on disarmament alone would define any expansion. Layering on housing, a new spec, class pruning, stat squish, and transmog overall creates like a really unique launch in all of World of Warcraft history. I don't know that we've gotten such a big change at launch, and we've had so many things, in the pre-patch and here. This has been quite an experience, and I think, like some people have said before, it's very transformative for World of Warcraft. We have housing, gives casual players a reason to log in daily. Add-on changes force hardcore players to rediscover, coordination. Apex Talents promise to restore complexity that pruning removed, so we'll see about that when we get to 90. And as they said, they're going to swing the pendulum to one side and then creep it back. And we've seen them do that with class tuning and add-on changes, and what they're actually displaying in their add-ons. So I think it makes sense. It definitely it looks good so far, and we're on the heels of the last expansion, and we're coming up on this next one, and I think we've got a lot to look forward to. But 6 months from now, are we going to look back on this expansion as the one that saved World of Warcraft in a way, or the one that was another nail in the coffin?
I think personally, as far as I wouldn't say Dragonflight saved it. It was a step in the right direction. I know through watching some lore videos and videos on who was the story writer after Chris Metzen left. There's a guy who worked on another MMO, and a lot of the his stories from another MMO that he worked on basically kind of got folded into World of Warcraft, which caused some like weirdness. And now that Chris Metzen is back, like as a director on like storyline type stuff, I think it's getting back to where it needs to be. And you had Dragonflight as that like kind of like a let's just say a middle like a reset, right? And you had some of those characters from this other storyteller guy kind of had their time and to like make their way through and stuff. You know what? I wish I knew his name. I wish I could provide more information. I just watched like one video on it and like why some of the story went kind of like weird in Warcraft. Like, oh, where'd these people come from? Where'd this come from? You know, even the Harrenair. You know, the Harrenair are also kind of like part of like that old like story stuff. You know, but I think it's in good hands. I think I'm glad that Chris Metzen is back in his capacity rather than just being a voice actor. I think he's integral in the storytelling of Warcraft, being part of the you know the core crew that got this whole ball rolling in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just been like Shaq said, Dragonflight was or I guess I should say I should on more messing up my words. To add on to what Shaq was saying, um, Dragonflight was a turning point in terms of them really listening to feedback. One of the major issues with Shadowlands was simply that we had, as the community, voiced our concerns, especially with the covenants and the issues of not only being stuck with the one that you've chosen, but being completely unable to switch to any in the foreseeable future. And it really um, put a box around players on to really having a variety of choice and everything. But whenever Shadowlands came out and it really did poorly, they really started listening, and they started getting back into viewing us, as far as players are concerned, as really the driving force sort of behind the game. So I think that whenever we look back on this, we're going to see that it's the continuing evolution and sort of uh, reach out to the fans that just keeps getting better and better.
What's your take, Squirrel?
I you know, I think let me see. Say this. I think that all the changes that they've done have been really well integrated. It feels like I remember when Cataclysm happened, and that was actually like less content than what they've done this time around, and the amount of changes they've done this time around. But that one felt more forced or implemented poorly, or maybe it just wasn't as smooth. There was something about that transition that didn't feel that great, and it felt kind of clunky. But this time, there's so many changes, and I really do feel like they learned their lessons from before. And I think that 6 months from now, when we look back to the launch of this expansion, um, we're going to we're going to see that. We're going to see that it was all for the better, that the raids really worked out to be a lot of fun, that we have a lot more players playing the game. I think we're going to see a lot of positive things for WoW. I think this is going to be the best expansion, one of the best expansions they've had so far. And almost, I kind of feel like they started with a lot of momentum in the War Within, and they're carrying that through into Midnight, and it's just gonna crash down in the Last Titan. Like I really feel like that's going to be significant because this is the first time that we've ever experienced this. There's never been an expansion where we got everything, all the threads from the last one leading right into this one. So when the raid starts and we start pushing mythics and we start doing all that stuff, and after of course all our leveling, um it's the same story. We're still fighting like the same conflict, and I think that's kind of fun. I think that's a lot of fun. That's different than what we've had before. And if it does really well, which I think it will, I think we might see more trilogies or more series going forward for World of Warcraft expansions.
Right. Longer story arc for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like that would also sounds like something that the writing team would love, right? To not be as constrained, to really be able to roll out a really good story and not be forced to. That's been the complaint for a lot of players, where some story threads just get abandoned in an expansion because they didn't have the opportunity to finish those up because the content got cut in one way or the other,
Mhm.
and that's it. And then there's, you're telling a different story in the next expansion, so weaving that thread in somehow becomes harder and harder the further away from the end of that thread you get, till these guys had to go into deep lore just to redo Zolomon. It required going way back because they don't carry those things forward. But I think going forward, we are going to see a lot more of that recursive storytelling, going back to the places that we already know, and then that is going to lead to being able to take those threads that had been abandoned and do something with them, modernize them. So I think this is going to be really good. 6 months from now, I think that's what we're gonna see.
Right. It'll be interesting. Xalatath is definitely I think one of the most iconic enemies that we've had to face. You know, um, she's got she's got character.
Yeah, she's a good
Personality.
villain.
She's an
We
evil.
don't
She's
always
an
get good
evil.
villains.
I don't want to say the word, but
Yeah.
but it's you know, you love to hate her, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think they've done a really good job with her. I am very much looking forward to fighting her.
Right.
That's not always a thing. I think they started that with Arthas in Wrath of the Lich King. He was in your face like the whole time, and you saw him in
Mm-hmm.
in a bunch of quests, and then
Yeah.
and then he showed up in the tournament, and then he was all over, and you could see him. I mean, he was in Goldrak. Was that what?
Yeah, he
Yes.
was. Yeah, he
Yep.
was
Yeah,
Zoldrak. Zoldrak.
was it
Yeah, he was in there.
Zoldrak?
Yeah, yeah, because
Gundrak.
Zoldrak.
It was
Yeah, because he.
Gundrak.
Oh, Gundrak. Because he
Gundrak,
was
yeah.
in the.
And there was a
You
troll that
you
you helped
worked.
escape, and when you get to the top,
Yeah,
he's
you worked
like,
for him in the
mm-hmm.
necropolis,
Yeah,
right?
so he showed up at all the time. He was all over, and then you finally at the end got to fight him, and I think that was like almost kind of made him really exciting to get to eventually. And Zaltaz is
Right.
going to get this three expansion workup, and then we get to finally fight her.
You know, and I hope in the Last Titan, bro, like I if they're gonna bring in Sargeras back, if they're gonna bring somebody else back, like I don't know how like what form he's gonna be coming back after, his
That's if
bouts
he's
with
the last
Illidan,
Titan.
right? In front of the Titans.
That's
Well,
if he's the right. They could be referring
right,
to the World Soul. Like nobody knows.
right. But like like lore, like theory crafters and lore people know Sargeras is key. He's a key
Yeah.
figure. He's the one who got the Legion all together, right? But even if you don't see him all the time, right? He's been running behind the scenes for a long time as avatars and all kinds of stuff, right? And I hope that it's not just Zalatath and then he comes in. I want more like you know what I mean? Like these as she fades out or whatever what's gonna happen, I hope Blizzard brings in they're gonna have to bring in other key characters, right? And to get them back into our memory again, get them like at the forefront of our
Get
memory as
reintroduce
we're
them in the prior
right,
expansion as opposed to pulling them in at the new expansion.
right,
So there's more overlap
right.
between the expansions and the storylines instead of being hard divisions.
Yeah, because I'd say he's just as if not more of an important character as she is. Lived longer. Well, who knows? I don't know who's lived longer. If it's Sargeras, Zalatath is like over 100,000 years old or something, right? Like she's like
There's some crazy lore
old.
here, and that's another
Um,
thing too. A lot of mystery, and I'm really excited to get more of the story as we expand
right,
outwards.
right. We have never gotten to face the full on force of Sargeras, you know, or any of the other, we'll just say Titans, right? Because
Yeah.
Sargeras is a Titan. He is a
Mhm.
Titan, you know. He's a Titan that led the whole demonic army. After spending lots of time with them. So yeah, it's I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in the last Titan and then moving forward from that point in time. This is a kind of a crazy time in WoW in its history, you know. A lot of people, you know, thought like, you know, Lich King, Ice Crown, all that stuff, you know. That was Arthas was just a pawn in the grand scheme of things. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he's just like
There are
he's a little
layers
guy,
to
dude.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that I don't know if you know this, Squirrelthug, is that right before Shadowlands debuted, they had some like extra cutscenes, sort of similar to the stop motion of Zalatath that they did earlier, and one of them was with Arthas. However, the unfortunate thing is that they had him essentially not just show him that he died and went to the Maw, but presumably he is not even alive in the Maw anymore, that he is essentially super dead. And so what I'm hopeful for is that maybe some of the damage that they did with Shadowlands, that we discussed earlier with the story, is sort of taken aback or revised, and that we do get to see Arthas again, and that it wasn't that, you know, he just kind of um, dies in a
I mean, they
really
turned him into
really
fuel, right, for the machines, basically.
well, we know that they did that to Garrosh, uh, whenever we did the boss fight. But as far as Arthas is concerned, what we saw was like a little spark that represented his like
And then
soul or
it faded
spirit.
out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you know, we don't totally know what happened to him, but hopefully there's more to it than just that.
If he came back, you think he'd be a Death Knight or a Paladin?
That's a good question. I would say still Death Knight, you know, and probably still evil. But again, you know, if they have to go back into to like retcon a bunch of things from Shadowlands, you know, I'm all for it, just to sort of get things back on track.
I just want to say this whole time I've been fishing and my fishing is now 230
Hell
just
yeah.
Holy
from
cow!
sitting here. Yeah, and I just after 230, I just got an item that I fished up in Zolomon, which is the Idol of Peril that's starting a quest line that's got a shark icon associated with it, and um, kind of crazy that I've been fishing for this long and I know a quest pops up.
Damn. Yeah, I'll look forward to when I start fishing and do that. So we're gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna go over the little our little social section, a little shout out. Before we go, if you want to support the show, the best way is through our Patreon. Every bit helps us keep things running. And um, if you don't have the ability to help us with the on the Patreon, we do have some free support actions. If you go to YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like, comment. We do read the comments on there. It's always excited to see those. You can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and make sure to drop a rating there and definitely a review. We appreciate all the 5-star ratings. And for our social media accounts, we are at Last Attempt Pod at Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, And we are also Last Attempt Pod on Patreon. So you can find us there, and our Discord link is in the description. I stream on Twitch for our raid nights, and sometimes on the weekends. And you can find me at twitch.tv/squirrelthug_. And I believe Templar, you also stream. And where can they find you?
For me, it is twitch.tv/TemplarIvanhoe, and that is TempLrivanho. And similarly, I stream during our raid nights. And so if you want to pop in either my stream or Squirrelthug's, please feel free. I have the tanking perspective, and Squirrelthug has the DPS/healing perspective.
And Shakatan, where can these good people find you?
I mean, I am on Twitch under Shakatan _360. I don't really stream that much.
Okay.
But I make music and stuff, and maybe I'll get my music links out here on one of these episodes. And that's it for me.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have if you ever provide us with some of the like music links and stuff, we'll make sure to put those in the description. And so if anybody wants to take a look at those, do keep in mind the Shakatan here did make the intro audio that you heard at the very beginning of this show and all of our shows. So if you're interested in some of that music, yeah, we'll get that link from him, and we'll have the rest of our Twitch links up in the description there. This has been a great perspective look at the next expansion, number 12. It's exciting. I'm excited for this. I've been really busy, so I probably won't really play much until later in the week. But yeah, this has been great. Thanks for coming
Better get
along
ready
once
for
again.
raid, brother.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll get there. But I got 2-hour podcasts that I'm gonna edit before we get
Right.
there. So,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, once again, thank you guys for coming. This has been great. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, so see ya.
Laters.
All right, later.